John is the PharmD, works very closly with Sam. And we also have Michael Strife, who was with us as a DVT judge. This is this the second or third? I think it's the second year we've done it. We invited a lot of hospitals to send us commentaries and reports about what they had done to improve DVT prophylaxis. And then the judges met by conference call and decided which were the very best reports that were sent to us. This year, when we were meeting, actually we started thinking about it last year, we realized that it was really unfair to compare a giant university hospital, for example, like Brigham and Women's right here, with its many thousands of staff people, with its huge budget, and with its academic mission, to smaller community hospitals which didn't have as many people. For example, the QA at my hospital is intimately involved with the research and publication program. So consequently, you can imagine that the reports that are going to come from a program that has that kind of resources will be much more extensive, with a lot more figures and graphs. In other words, prepared just like a scientific article, compared to the resources that are available in a community hospital. So we decided to give awards in different categories. Just as you have masters sports events, you don't compete against the 20-year-olds when you're in your 60s. You also can't expect a smaller community hospital to compete for resources with a giant university program. So that's why you're going to see, you see right here in front of you, a number of different categories. I just wanted to say one thing about, because there's a potential conflict of interest. I'm from Arizona, and one of the winners is also from Arizona. And the Indian Health Service in Arizona is intimately involved with our university hospital as a referral for sick patients. Let me just say 2 minutes, Sam, about the Indian Health Service, because I've served on a couple of summers as a volunteer in Indian Health Service hospitals. They are a remarkable institution, and probably most people in Boston don't know about them, although a number of Harvard students have come for electives on them. They were founded, of course, out of the very nasty things that happened in the 19th century as the U.S. moved, west, and with a lot of bloodshed and misery, subdued the Native American tribes that were there. And what happened was separate treaties were signed with each of the Native American tribes, just as if it was a separate country. And what was promised by the U.S. government was some housing and food from U.S. surplus and health care. Well, in the 19th century, health care wasn't much, but you all know in the 21st century, health care is a very different story. And so what you see, particularly in the larger Native American tribal reservations, you see actually hospitals that are built and funded and staffed by funding from the federal government. More recently, a number of the tribes, the bigger tribes, for example, the Navajo, which is the largest tribe in the U.S., has actually taken over control of this, but with U.S. central government funding. And these hospitals have to meet the same standards as Brigham and Women's and my own hospital and Tufts and BU and so forth. They have to be able to pass the same kinds of hospital certifications. The people who staff them are members of the U.S. Public Health Service, as you will see when the award is given for the White River Indian Health Hospital. I can tell you that there was no conflict of interest here, because when we discussed this hospital, I didn't vote until the other people had voted, and I was happy to see that my vote was identical to theirs. So, in other words, the people in the audience shouldn't believe that I was favoring somebody in Arizona or favoring the Indian Health Service, which I actually have a very great fondness for, because those people do a wonderful job with really small hospitals and without the same kind of multi-specialty backup that most of us have come to expect in a large multi-specialty hospital. So, John, why don't you start? I'll let you. Well, Mike, you want to have, or Mike, you want to give out the first one? Say a few words.
Okay. So, first, I appreciate being invited to join this committee by Sam and John and Joe. Last year, I was fortunate enough to be here, and winning this award made a big impact on our ability to expand our program of VTE prevention. So it will do the same thing, I'm sure, for all the winners here. It was really wonderful and focused the administration on our efforts. I was struck by looking through, when I looked through all the applications, and there were a large number of applications that came in for these awards, that The winners were all distinguished by similar, they had similar components to their program, that they all had education, they all developed baseline data to assess what the prophylaxis was being given in their institution, and then developed with providers multidisciplinary efforts. There was pharmacists involved, docs, nurses were all involved, to develop a multidisciplinary effort to improve prophylaxis, and also assess contraindications to every patient that came in the hospital, and then make sure that those patients got what they needed, and then followed up their efforts by looking at outcome events, not only the prophylaxis being provided, but also whether patients were suffering deep venous thrombosis, pulmonary embolism, or bleeds. And all these institutions did that on a larger or smaller scale using what resources they had available to them. And so I think it was very instructive to me. I learned from every one of these applications things that we could do at Hopkins that we're not doing based on what you all have done. And I congratulate you all. It's a wonderful effort, and I'm sure you'll find that these awards will help you further your efforts and get greater recognition for what you've done, because it's beautiful work, all of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
We just, in case you know, as always, the funding has to come from somewhere here, and so we'd like to thank the ESOL Corporation for helping us with this program and making it possible for NATF to do this.
So, and I'll just mention that the folks that are here today, and I hope you give them a warm applause, typically are the ones that have been forced to do the implementation to improve prophylaxis. So if you take a step back and think about this, we're typically trying to give medications that are usually injected and painful to patients that typically have no idea why they're getting these doses. We're typically asking nurses to take on more responsibility to review orders and then to find medications and then deliver them to the patients. We're asking physicians to add more work to their calendar and to their daily activities by considering venous thromboembolism as a threat and then having to put the correct initiatives in place to prevent events from occurring. So all of this requires work. I'm sure many of you folks in the audience have worked with consultants. They always come in and tell you what you should do, and then in the end you're left with the implementation phase. That's the most difficult, and I think what's important today is the folks that are here are the folks that have done the work and done the implementation. So if I can, I'd like to go through the winners. So again, as Joe suggested, we divided the winners into different categories. And for the hospital that won, that was under 200 hospital beds in size, was, as Joe mentioned, the White River Indian Health Hospitals. And Dr. Yoon Jen is here all the way from Arizona, and hopefully you can come up and I know you'll have a presentation. Please come up. We'll bestow upon you this wonderful plaque that hopefully will get you more resources and accolades, and maybe hang in the lobby of your hospital. We get a quick picture.
And for the hospital with greater than 200 beds in the community hospital category goes to Glen Cove Hospital. Yeah. And now going to the university hospital category. The first, so we had obviously, it was a tie. We couldn't split these two. We couldn't name a winner between these two hospitals because they were just, both applications were just wonderful and the programs are just outstanding. First is, goes to University of Michigan Health System, greater than 200 beds. And then the last, and certainly not the least, University of New Mexico Hospital. Allison, please come up.